The Dillon Hopkins Airport in Swansea is facing a hangar shortage for commercial aircraft. This week, I went to the airport to see how the City of Keene and the local developer are working to solve this problem. Pretty soon, business executives in the region could have some extra space to park their aircraft right here in Keene. Dillon Hopkins Airport is working on negotiating a lease with Avonrue Development and the City of Keene to build a new corporate hangar. The City Council voted unanimously in September to begin negotiations. The airport director says hangar space for corporate aircraft is in high demand, and this new 12,000 square foot hangar would make Keene more accessible to those businesses flying in.
A company looking to relocate to the New England area is going to look for a place with an airport so they have that access to be able to fly in and out and not have to drive an hour to fly out.
Avonrue intends to use the space primarily as a hub for its own corporate aircraft. Avonrue is an affordable housing group based out of Walpole. The company has housing projects all across the region, making flying the best option to get to sites quickly. The group intends to lease out hangar space it is not using to other business aircraft. They hope it is a win-win for Avonrue and similar businesses.
With the company growing and the need for air travel, it seems the most logical next step for us to be able to have a base of operations for our company so that we can meet the demands we're seeing in the housing industry and again be able to travel quickly to locations where we have projects going on.
Avonrue has been looking at constructing a new hangar since 2020. Frank says that although the process has taken longer than he hoped for, he's happy to see it move forward.
I'm just hoping, to get this thing pulled together and have a positive impact in the region, and look forward to putting up a nice facility that will benefit the community.
Franks is currently awaiting a proposed lease from the City Council. He says the hangar's construction will begin once his team gives it approval. And that new hangar will be constructed behind me at Dillon Hopkins Airport. Frank says that depending on when an agreement with the city is reached, that hangar could be erected as soon as next spring or even summer. KSC-TV, Hunter Oberst. The new hangar would be able to accommodate aircraft as big as a Legacy 650 jet.
The second time.
This gathering outside Keene City Hall marks the second year the city has observed Indigenous Peoples Day. Keene Mayor George Hansel says the city decided to celebrate the holiday to acknowledge the indigenous people who lived in North America prior to the arrival of Europeans. He says it's also an effort to stand in solidarity with the indigenous people who live in the region today.
I really find that I'm more connected to my community, more connected to my place of residence and my home when I have a broader understanding of the history that got us here.
The call to honor Indigenous people in Keene took hold when Peter Mayjoy petitioned the City Council to officially acknowledge the holiday in 2020. Mayjoy says Indigenous people deserve this recognition.
They are wonderful, fantastic, and I want to help them out.
Mayjoy says the switch from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day was necessary, in his opinion. He says this is because of the violent and deadly interactions Christopher Columbus had with Native Americans in the 15th century.
So if you do enough research about Christopher Columbus and his appearance here in this part of the world, and some of the terrible things that happened because of his presence, you'd understand why Christopher Columbus Day had to leave and be replaced by Indigenous Peoples Day.
Keene State College's archivist says the purpose of the holiday is to honor the history and cultures of those that lived here before us.
Just kind of a day to recognize the people and the cultures that have been here long before we call this place North America home, the U.S. home.
Indigenous Peoples Day also holds local significance to the area. Keene is home to one of the oldest archaeological sites in the state. This site is located at the middle school and was discovered during its construction in 2010. I'm here at City Hall where people behind me are gathered to honor those that came before. Keene is just one of 10 towns in New Hampshire that officially observe Indigenous Peoples Day. For KSC-TV, I'm Hunter Oberst. Keene State has certainly had an unorthodox year. The pandemic forced colleges and universities across the nation to enforce policies and restrictions in order to stay open. Here at Keene State, masks were constant companions for all staff and students. Weekly testing and hybrid learning models were also part of the new normal. Now, Just 2 weeks from graduation, Keene State President Melinda Treadwell is calling this challenging year a success.
Our students, since the beginning, have told me and others that they care about each other and they care about being part of a community, that they don't create risk. That has been said to me and it's been lived, and I'm really proud of that. So all of you have exceeded my expectations that we did this, and we did it, and I think we're the safest campus in the state, and I'm proud of that.
KSC has managed to keep case counts low for the academic year, especially compared to other USNH campuses. Looking at both the fall and spring semesters, Keene has had nearly 3 times fewer cases than Plymouth State University and almost 9 times fewer cases than UNH. But Keene is dealing now with a late semester surge. Last week, the college reported 47 active cases and 82 quarantines just weeks before the end of the semester, the highest numbers have been all year. These numbers have some worried that Keene may not be able to finish the semester in person.
There's just a bunch of schools that had a huge outbreak. We might hit that despite all of our controls. Personally, I'll be really sad and disappointed if we do hit that. I'll be disappointed and sad that we don't get to commencement.
President Treadwell says that despite the obstacles of the year, reopening the college was the best option for students and staff.
This has been a hard year for all of us. We're all exhausted. We're all feeling weird about being close to each other, and yet it's better than being alone. I just think it's really, I think it has been worth it.
Most students seem to agree.
I feel like that they did the best for the student base in general, both safety-wise and giving us the best access to a viable sort of regular sort of year here at Keene State.
I think the school did fine. We've only had a couple of outbreaks really, but it was more a lot of schools did so much worse. So
I'm hoping that my next 3 years are going to be as normal as possible, so I have that in the back of my head, just knowing that it's going to be okay eventually. But yeah, it's definitely sad that my first year wasn't how I wished it would be, but that's okay. I'm not that concerned about it.
President Treadwell says the college will discuss possibly requiring students to be vaccinated before returning in the fall. There are several medical and legal issues to be ironed out in such a policy, but it will be discussed over the summer. She says that students who get vaccinated can look forward to loosened restrictions next fall.
For individuals who are vaccinated, waiver of the quarantine requirements if you're a close contact because they're that effective. You don't need to be tested each week. You'll have a random surveillance. It's a very different experience with vaccinated individuals.
To limit the spread of infection amid the latest outbreak, the college has limited access to the Zorn Dining Commons, the Recreation Center, and the Student Center right behind me. Hunter Oberst, KSC TV. Good evening and welcome to the October 28th edition of KSC TV News. I'm Hunter Oberst. Keene State College has launched a new interdisciplinary program aimed at tackling systemic oppression. Students can enroll in the new anti-racist studies major right now. The new program is the latest development in the school's mission to explore the problems of racism and sexism in society. The program launch came just months after the state legislature passed a bill banning the teaching of divisive concepts. Psychology chair and state representative Dr. Larry Welkowitz says this has put the college in a tough spot, but it won't change his mind about the program.
We're not going to stop. We are not going to stop ever, ever. You can make laws. You can make laws that we will defy because academic freedom is just a cornerstone of education.
Students with questions about the major can contact Dr. Karen Jennings. Crews are still working to restore power across the Northeast after this week's nor'easter. Here are the numbers on that storm. AccuWeather reports more than 600,000 customers across the Northeast lost power during the storm. Top wind speeds hit 113 miles per hour at Truro, Massachusetts. The biggest rain total came from Bating Hollow, New York, where nearly 7 inches of rain fell in just 24 hours. The COVID-19 pandemic is causing its second national blood shortage. The Red Cross says blood levels are at their lowest post-summer point in 6 years. KSC TV's Kiana Jola reports on the urgent need for blood. October is National Women-Owned Business Month. KSC TV's Josh Lackalade reports Keene is becoming a popular spot for women in businesses to flourish. For more information on women-owned businesses and how to get started, visit the Center for Women and Enterprise website at cweonline.org. Again, that's cweonline.org. That's all for this edition of KSC TV. Thanks for tuning in.